Assalamu alaikum. We have just launched our Fight with Light fundraising campaign for Seekers Hub Global, where our goal is to raise $60,000 in monthly donations by the end of the year, and all of this money will go towards fighting ignorance and fighting hatred and fighting extremism by spreading the light of knowledge and the light of guidance and the light of the way of our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We hope that you'll join us in this fight, and you can do so by becoming a monthly donor at seekershub.org/donate.
You're listening to the Qur'an Tafsir, Understanding the Word of Allah, a podcast dedicated to explaining the Qur'an, presented by various reliable scholars. This episode is presented by Shaykh Faid Mohammed Said of La Raib Institute for Education in the UK. This podcast is powered by Seekers Hub Global. Visit seekershub.org for online courses, our Q&A service with reliable scholars, and engaging media.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه ملء السماوات وملء الأراضين، وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله في كل لمحة ونفس عدد ما وسعه علم الله. May Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in knowledge, inshallah, and may Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who benefit from that knowledge. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to make dua. In his dua he used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. He used to say, Oh Allah, I seek refuge by you from a knowledge which doesn't benefit me. So it's not about learning, it's about benefiting from what you are learning. And knowledge by itself is not a purpose. The purpose is to learn and to act. And if you see, most of the Sahaba, they didn't spend time learning, but they were just learning something and implement it, and subhanAllah, taking it further. And if you see in our ummah, what is happening is now, people, they learn a lot, and the knowledge that they are learning doesn't change them, doesn't change their actions. So inshallah ta'ala, may Rabbi connect us with the Qur'an and with the ruh of the Qur'an, inshallah. We, last week we talked about the introduction of Surah Adiyat, don't we? And we talked about the purpose of the Surah. And we said the purpose of the Surah is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about human nature. Because everything started from knowing yourself. If I don't know myself better, I will never be able to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no one knows me more than Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know nothing about myself. All what I know, if we were to see humans as just at this, as a form, then subhanallah, we will never be connected, subhanallah, with anything else, with any, the spiritual connection is far, it is unreachable. But as far as I am thinking of me, as Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu alayhi salam used to say, he said, we are the reflection of everything in this universe. As humans, we are a reflection. Imam Ali used to say, Da'uka minka wa ma tash'uru. Said, your illnesses are from you, but you don't feel that. You don't see that. Whenever we get sick, we just want to find external reasons. Because we feel that we are pure. It's not me. And this is the difference between us and the companions. One of the companions said, I used to know the impact of the sin that I've committed when my wife is angry with me. When my ride is behaving differently. So which means they don't look for external to say, oh, something else happened. So they blame no one other than themselves. Say, maybe I've committed something. Maybe I have done something. Maybe my intention wasn't good in doing this. That's why this is happening to me. So Sayyidina Ali said, Da'uka minka. Your illness is from you, but you don't see it. So Dawa'uka fika wa ma tubsiru. He said, and the cure is with you, but you don't see it. Imam Ibn Qayyim said something, and Wallah al-Azim, it was hard it wasn't hard, but sometimes you read something and then it remains a story until you see it yourself. He said, I was sick and the illness that I have was it cannot be cured. So he said, when I went to Mecca, I just said, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Zamzam is for whatever you drink it. So I said, I will just keep drinking this Zamzam with the intention of shifa. I will just keep drinking. And he said, فَتَرَكْتُ مَكَّةَ وَمَا بِشَيْءٍ. So I said, I left Mecca, and none of the things that I was suffering from were there anymore. And wallahi, whoever is recording, you keep it for you first. And secondly, some of the personal things that I'm saying is not for, I have to trust you with this. It happened with someone very close to me. Not going to go into details. Subhanallah, they were sick, and I went with them to the doctors in Jeddah, and everything is recorded. Subhanallah. So they said to them, you know what? There is nothing that they can do for them in this. So, with the niyyah of the last visit to Mecca, they said, then let us go to Mecca. 70 kilometers. So we went to Mecca. And then, subhanallah, so this lady said, please leave me here, and I see you inshallah next Jum'ah. So I said, what are you going to do? What are you going to eat? She said, I'm safe. Leave me here. Inshallah next Jum'ah I come. I will just keep watching. Maybe there is someone giving her something. Just keep drinking her Zamzam. Wallahi, we went back. And the lady died later on, but the doctor is still alive. He said, either it is a different patient, or maybe there was something when we were yes. So what I want to say, Imam Ali said, and your cure is with you. When I say with you, many people, even when they suffer with a lot of suffering, you see them, mashallah, much more stronger than anyone else. There is someone that I know in this country, not anywhere else. Miskin, Rabbi has tested him with a lot of illnesses. Physically, wallahi, Allah has tested him with a lot of illnesses. He's got no family, old age. And yet, wallahi, when I sit with him, wallahi, my iman increases. Because all what he speaks about is the blessing that Allah has given him. So sometimes you see, subhanallah, to understand yourself and to understand Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is a great ni'mah. And that's why Imam Ali said, and your cure is with you, but you don't see it. And then he said, وَتَحْسَبُ أَنَّكَ جِرْمٌ صَغِيرٌ وَفِيكَ الطَّوَى الْعَالَمُ الْأَكْبَرُ. You think that you are a small particle. But he said, the whole world is reflected on you. As humans, we are the one that Allah made the malaika to make sujood for us. As humans, we are the one that Allah has trusted, as even Allah made all the prophets from us. There is no difference between me and between any tree. Because the tree, Allah has created that tree, and Allah has created me. So there is something that united me and makes me equal, me and this tree. Me and even the leaves of that tree. Because both of us, we are created by Allah. But Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala made me responsible, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it an object. So, understanding myself is very important for us. And the more you know yourself, the more you will be very humble. To go back to the main thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying, "Innama ana abd." I'm nothing other than a slave. And that was reflected even in all his relations, salawatu rabbi wa salamu alayh. When Sayyidah Aisha, when the Sahaba, they ask her, how was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at home? They see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they see their Imam, they see their guide, they see their Rasul, they see their Nabi. So they just went to see, because no one knows him more than his wife. So they said, how was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at home? Look at what she said. Kana ka'ahadi minkum. He was like any one of you. He doesn't come with this jubba of nubuwa in his house. In his house, salawatu rabbi wa salamu alayhi, yes, he was Nabi, but he was husband, only a simple husband. That's why even you see, subhanallah, all the interaction between him and his wives. Allah has recorded this in the Qur'an. And that's why, subhanallah, some of these Orientalists, when they say Muhammad was born under the sun, they were right. Which means there is nothing which is hidden about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His private life, as his, subhanallah, everything about him we know. His wife, they gave a detailed, subhanallah, the details of how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was at home, salawatu rabbi wa salamu alayhi. She said he was like any one of you. He said, yakhsifu na'lahu, he was repairing his shoes, sewing his clothes, cleaning the house, and serving his family. Salawatu rabbi wa salamu alayhi. All this is from understanding myself. So going back to, so the purpose of this surah is, Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to me as human being. Who am I? So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he does, Rabbi in this surah he started by saying, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. First of all, let us speak about the word al-adiyat. Adiyat is everything that runs very fast. That's why when there is a river, when someone crosses the river in Arabic, you say ta'adda. And even when you are going through a problem, so you say that problem is over, so you say ta'adda al-mushkila. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. So this al-adiyat, we know, last week I said that there was a difference between the companions. What does Allah meant by this al-adiyat? So we know that Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by the horses. And that is his understanding. Because why he said that is, because Allah said the word dabha. Dabh is a kind of noise that comes from the horses when they run very fast. And this noise, commonly, the scholars, the linguistics, they say it comes only from dogs, foxes and horses. They have this kind of voice that comes. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by the horse. Why horses? If you say it might be a beautiful animal, but no. What you have to think about is when Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke in the Qur'an about the creation of the ant, the Jewish community in Medina, they said, what is this book? Speaking about the Qur'an, speaking about ants, speaking about bees, speaking about animals. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, He said, they are looking down at my creation. He said, then let all of them come in one place and create one ant. Now with all the technologies, do whatever you want. You can show me a lot of robots or anything. But when we agree to create one insect, humans they created, then that is the challenge. So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is drawing my attention to other creation, and when Allah swears by something, it shows the greatness. And Allah is speaking about the greatness of the soul itself, whether it is a human being or animal. That's why it was the teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the Sahaba when they go to jihad. He used to say, "La taqtulu shaykhan." Don't kill an elderly man, or woman, or children. And then even he said, وَلَا تَقْطَعُوا شَجَرَةً, and don't cut trees. Why? Because there is a sense of life in it. There is a sense of life. So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. Allah, if we take it by the tafsir of Abdullah ibn Abbas, to say it is horses, Allah is swearing by this great animal, beautiful animal, that everyone loves. And they have this kind of beauty in horses. that subhanallah, if people are used to them, they become a big fitna. People, they will never enjoy anything. That's why they say, if a man is very much into horses, he will always have a trouble with his wife. Az-Zubair ibn al-Awwam radiyallahu anhu, he was Faris, and his wife Sayyidah Asma, the daughter of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, was very smart woman, very great woman. So she knows how to handle him. So all what she does is, subhanAllah, she used to wash his horse. So it was known in Medina, the cleanest horse and the well-kept horse is Zubair's. But Asma was very smart. I always say, it's not only tafsir that we learn a lot of things with tafsir. Knowing each other is very important in any relationship. So Sayyidah Asma knows her husband was a very jealous man. Very jealous man, Sayyidina Zubair. So subhanallah, once a man came to Sayyidah Asma and said, I'm a farmer. I come with my things and I want to sell them in Medina. He said, I cannot compete with the people in the market. Will you allow me to sell my things outside your house? She said, when my husband comes, come and ask me the same, then to do the same favor for you. So when her husband was there, he came the man and he asked her the same. She said, you didn't find anywhere else other than our house? Why do you have to ask to come to our house? The man was shocked. She asked me to come. And now this is how she's reacting. So her husband said, and why are you making life difficult? He can just use it. He can just sell. So when the man, when he came to ask her, she said, our husband is a very jealous man. If we were to allow you, you will be in trouble and I will be in trouble. So subhanallah, so horses, people love them very much. So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by this brave animal, this intelligent animal, this beautiful animal. And Allah said, subhanallah, they keep going until subhanallah, even their breathing becomes very difficult and yet they don't stop. But as humans, we get tired and we stop. So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by this great animal. And when Allah swears, just think about this animal itself. How Rabbi has created this animal, how it responds. Because they say the greatness of the creation, it reminds you of the greatness of the Creator subhanahu. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. And according to Sayyidina Ali, he said it is a camel. And if it is a camel, we will have a problem with the word, that the second word in the ayah, ضَبْحًا, the noise that comes from the horses. It is not the same noise as that comes from the camel. So the dabh will be in a word of dabh, which means as well the step that the camel takes. The patience of the camel is like the patience of no one. That's why the camel, they call it the sheep of the desert. Camel you can go for more than 1 month without a need of water in that desert, and neither horses nor any animal will do what the camels can do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. Allah is swearing by some of His creation. I created this horse with this beauty, so I swear by what I have created. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا. Muriyat is, when you have two objects, like if you put two stones together, by shaking them, sometimes it comes this kind of fire. The horses, when they run, always, if they were to hit at rocks, this kind of fire comes out. Subhanallah, if you see this, subhanallah, you'll be amazed. Normally, and subhanallah, when you are people at this time, they were born in flats and they grow up in flats, but subhanallah, the nature is very beautiful. Wallahi. So sometimes when you see them, So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, even when the horses run, especially when they go over the rocks, and this kind of little bit of fire that comes out when they touch. And yet, subhanallah, this is not something normally that happens with us as humans. And it is ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, great creation of Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala, to think about it. That this is happening. So Rabbi is swearing by that as well. Then Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا. Subh is normally before, when people during fighting or anything, people they used to run, they used to attack. Every attack happens in Fajr time, early morning, because at night it was dark, there was no lights like now. In the daytime it used to be very hot, so the best time for them is, people they prepare and they attack their enemy while they are sitting down. So Allah is speaking about the horses. They say, because normally humans, even to wake them, to prepare them to fight, they need some time. They need some time to kind of process, to wake up, to think where I am. But the horses, subhanallah, they were created for this. Every time, if you are ready, your horse doesn't need to prepare. So Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, you've got this, still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking by these horses, in what they do early in the morning, without any preparation. Then I said, فَالْمُثِيرَاتِ نَقْعًا. And when they keep running, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the dust that is coming becomes like clouds in the battlefield. All this is created from these horses. You see this piece of land, it is carved. And once, subhanallah, these horses start running from in every direction, you see the dust becomes like clouds. It covers everything. Then Rabbi said, فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. Wasat means middle. And Jama' means the majority of people. So in the battlefield, the horses, they don't fear anything. They keep coming and going in the middle of the battlefield. You have a lot of worries and fear. But these horses, Rabbi has created them in a way they will just run into it. So if we go back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing in the Qur'an, and swearing is part of one of the greater things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by Himself, by His names, by His creation. And Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala in this very ayat, if we take whether it is horse or camel, Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala is drawing my attention to a different creation other than me. What is the benefit of this? If I say, when I keep looking at this horse, I will be very stupid if I don't think about myself. And what else the capability that Allah has given me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by speaking highly about this horse, Allah is saying, with all this, I make you in charge. I give the authority to you. I give the power to you, so that you can use it. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Mulk. And take the ayat that I am saying. Allah said in Surah Al-Mulk, هُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ ذَلُولًا. He is the one that who humiliated the earth for you and made it at your service. If you stop writing for 1 second, Allah has created this earth before me, isn't it? And this earth is my source of living. And this earth is bigger than me. And this earth as well, it responded to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَنْ يَحْمِلْنَهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we've offered this responsibility of making a choice and taking a decision. Before you, Allah said, we offered it to the earth. to the heavens, to the mountains. They refuse. They said, no, Ya Rabbi. وَأَشْفَقْنَا مِنْهَا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and they were so worried to take this responsibility. They were very wise. Said, Ya Allah, we don't want to choose. We don't want to take any decision. You take it for us. What did Allah say? وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ. Humans, they said, we can take this responsibility, Ya Rabbi. And Allah said, and Allah said, we were ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. We were ignorant. And we oppressed ourselves by taking this responsibility. And this is what Rasulullah ﷺ says, speaking about. He said, لَوْ تَتَوَكَّلُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ حَقَّ تَوَكُّلِهِ. If you were to rely on Allah and depend on Allah fully, as the birds do, Allah was to sustain you the way He sustains the birds. That they leave early in the morning with empty stomach, and they go back with full stomach. Because they don't care. In Sidi Ahmed ibn Idris rahmatullahi alayhi, in his book Kimya'ul Yaqeen, he says, subhanallah, sometimes we look down at all the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, if you were to give something to a dog, they will eat. If you give them some meat, they will eat some of it. And then they will leave it. They are not going to save anything for tomorrow. But when it comes to us, even Allah, if Allah was to give me a lot of ni'mah, instead of enjoying what Allah has given me, I think, what about tomorrow? What's going to happen next? This future. And the absolute future started when you leave this dunya. Don't people say long-term plan? So what is the long-term plan? So subhanallah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, so to go back to the earth. This earth, with all the blessing that Allah has given it, yet Allah made me responsible of it. Allah made this earth to be in my service. If we were to use even the so-called logic analysis, subhanallah, it has been before me. People come and go. If we're going to speak about who lasts longer, subhanallah, we are like a guest in this dunya. We come and go. But the same place was there thousands of years ago, and it will remain. And yet Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala made it in my service. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, everything that you have is from me, and I have honored you, but this doesn't mean that you are the only greatest creation. Allah is drawing my attention. So when Rabbi speaks about the horses, Allah is saying, with all what we spoke about, yet you are in charge of them. They are not in charge of you. We made them in your service. Allah is reminding me and reminding you of the blessing that Allah has given us, and the responsibility that we have as well. So always we have what we say al-qasam. Al-qasam is when you take or when you swear. Say, Wallahi. Every qasam, we have something what we call jawab al-qasam. If I say Wallah and I keep quiet, what happens? If I say Wallahi and I keep quiet, and then Ibrahim, someone says Wallah, take an oath, and then what do you expect?
To name an action.
Name an action. That's good. If there is no action, then what is the benefit of that oath?
No.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been taken off by this horses and their creation. So what is the message that Allah wanted to tell us? But before speaking about the action, does Allah need to prove something so that He say, I swear by this, I swear by this, but that Allah need to do that? You understand my question? Do you think? What do you think?
Precise.
Huh?
You just emphasize to us.
Whenever you see in the Quran Allah is swearing by something, then everything that comes after this is very important, is very great. So all this journey, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقْعًا فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. 5 ayat. How many ayat do we have in Surah Al-Adiyat? Hifz Quran, Hifz students. 11. So from 11, 5 of them are just, as you can say, they are just an introduction. Allah subhanallah, yani. So what is the ayah that comes that wanted to prove something to me, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took me through this journey? When we speak about 5 ayat, we are speaking about almost half of a surah. And how many surah do you have in the Quran? 114. So you are speaking one of 114, half of it is going in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taking off. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used what we say mu'akkidat. Mu'akkidat is an assuring word. So verily, inna means verily. Verily, mankind, al-insan, all mankind without any exception, all of us, from Adam alayhi salam until the last person, لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. What does the word kanud means? There are 3 meanings for this word in Arabic language. Just to give you a brief, the Quranic Arabic, the Arabic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used in the Quran, historically the Arabs were tribes. So each tribe, they have their own language before Islam. 200 years before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one language has emerged called the Fusha language, which means the Quraysh, the tribe of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they became the center of the Arabs. So every Arab poet, when they want to go to reach everyone, they used to speak the Quraysh language. So as if Allah is preparing everything for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is, inshallah ta'ala, one day you can ask me about this language because it is very important. But anyway, so in the tribe called Mudar and Rabi'ah, Mudar are Quraysh, and another tribe called Rabi'ah, the word kanud in their language means denial. In their language. In the language of one tribe called Kinda, means disobedient. Kinda. And they are a Yemeni tribe. In a tribe called Kinana, Kanud means in their tribe Bakhil, which is stingy or greedy. So now, why I'm telling you this is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used this word, verily mankind are kanud. What does this kanud means? We have these 3 meanings. Denial, greedy, and disobedient. Mashi? What does Allah, which one of them that Allah, is what Allah wanted? Denial. Disobedient. All of them. We have all of them. In different ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about them. So Allah said, verily mankind are. Subhanallah. Are we? Yes, we are.
Thank you for listening to the Qur'an Tafsir, Understanding the Word of Allah. Help Seekers Hub give light to millions around the world by becoming a monthly donor at seekershub.org/donate. Your donations are tax deductible in the US and Canada.